Part 1. Chapter I. It was a very hot evening in the beginning of July. A young man came out of a small room under the roof. This room was in a big house in S Place. The young man walked slowly along the street. He walked as if he was not sure what to do. He looked worried. The young man lived in a very small room. People called it a garret. It was under the roof of a tall house with 5 floors. The room was so small that it looked more like a cupboard than a real room. He was very poor. He owed money to the woman who owned the house. She gave him the room, food, and cleaning. She lived on the floor below him. Every time the young man went out, he had to walk past her kitchen. The door of the kitchen was almost always open. He was afraid to meet her. He did not want to talk to her. He did not want to hear her ask for the money he owed. This fear made him feel sick and ashamed. He tried to go down the stairs very quietly, like a cat, so she would not see him. He was not a coward, but for a long time he had felt nervous and angry. He was tired and worried about many things. He thought only about himself. He did not want to meet other people. He was afraid even to talk to anyone. Poverty made him feel very bad. But lately he stopped caring about normal daily problems. He stopped doing important things. He lost interest in them. This evening, when he came out into the street, he suddenly felt his fear very strongly. I want to do something big and dangerous, he thought. But I am afraid of small things like this. How strange. He smiled in a strange way. Everything is in a man's hands, but he lets it go because he is afraid. That is true. It would be interesting to know what men are most afraid of. Maybe they are most afraid of doing something new or saying something new. But I talk too much. Because I talk a lot, I do nothing. Or maybe I talk a lot because I do nothing. For the last month, I've been lying in my small room for days, thinking about old stories, like Jack the Giant Killer. Why am I going there now? Can I really do it? Is it serious? No, it is not serious at all. It is only a dream to make myself feel better. It is like a toy to play with. Yes, maybe it is only a toy. The street was very hot. There was no fresh air. Everywhere there was noise, dust, bricks, and building work. The special smell of the city in summer was all around him. This smell was very strong for people who could not leave the city. The bad smell from cheap drinking places was terrible. There were many such places in that part of the town. Drunk men walked around, even though it was a working day. All this made the young man feel very bad. His nerves were already weak. For a short moment, a look of deep disgust appeared on his face. The young man was actually quite handsome. He was taller than most men, thin but strong, with beautiful dark eyes and dark brown hair. Soon he fell into deep thought. His mind became empty. He walked without looking at anything around him. He did not care about the people or the houses. From time to time, he said quiet words to himself. He had started talking to himself a lot. At those moments, he understood that his thoughts were mixed up and that he was very weak. For 2 days, he had eaten almost nothing. His clothes were very bad. Even a person who was used to poor clothes would feel ashamed to walk in the street like that. But in that part of the town, bad clothes did not surprise anyone. The hay market was near. There were many bad places and many poor working people. You could see all kinds of people in the streets. No one looked strange there. But the young man felt a lot of anger and hate in his heart. Because of this, he did not care much about his old rags when he was in the street. It was different when he met people he knew, old friends or students from before. He did not like to meet them at all. Suddenly, A drunk man in a big cart pulled by a heavy horse shouted at him, "Hey there, German hatter!" The man pointed and laughed loudly. The young man stopped at once. He touched his hat with a shaking hand. The hat was old, tall, and round. It came from Zimmerman's shop. It was very worn, dirty, torn, and bent on one side. It looked terrible. It was not shame that he felt. It was something closer to fear. "I knew it," he said quietly and in confusion. "I thought so. This is the worst thing. Such a small, stupid detail can destroy the whole plan. Yes, my hat is too easy to notice. It looks funny, so people remember it. With my old clothes, I should wear a simple cap, an old flat cap, not this strange thing. No one wears a hat like this. People would notice it from far away. They would remember it, and if they remember it, they can find me. For this business, I must not be noticed at all. Small things are the most important. It is always small things that ruin everything." Part 2. He did not have far to go. He knew the way very well. From the gate of his house, it was exactly 730 steps. He had counted them once when he was dreaming. At that time, he did not believe his dreams. He only played with the idea because it was scary and bold. Now, 1 month later, he looked at the idea differently. Although he still laughed at himself and his thoughts and called himself weak, he started to see this terrible dream as something he could really try. He did not fully understand this yet, but now he was going there for a practice of his plan. With every step, his heart beat faster, and his excitement grew stronger. His heart felt heavy, and his hands shook a little. He came to a big house. One side of the house looked at the canal, the other side looked at the street. The house had many small flats. Poor working people lived there, tailors, locksmiths, cooks, Germans, girls who worked as they could, and small clerks. People were always coming and going through the gates and yards. 3 or 4 doorkeepers worked there. The young man was happy that he did not meet any doorkeepers. He quickly went through the right door and up the stairs. It was a back staircase, dark and narrow, but he knew it well. He liked these dark stairs because, in the darkness, no one could see him clearly. "If I am so afraid now," he thought when he reached the 4th floor, "what will happen if I really do it one day?" On the 4th floor, some men were carrying furniture out of a flat. They were porters. The flat belonged to a German clerk and his family. The German was moving out. So the 4th floor would soon have only the old woman living there. "That is good," he thought. He rang the bell of the old woman's flat. The bell made a weak sound, like tin, not like good metal. All bells in such poor houses sounded like that. He had forgotten the sound, but now reminded him of something. He became very nervous. His nerves were already too tight. After a moment, the door opened just a little. The old woman looked at him through the small opening with distrust. He could see only her small eyes shining in the dark. When she saw other people on the landing, she became braver and opened the door wider. The young man stepped into the dark entrance. It was separated from the small kitchen. The old woman stood in front of him without speaking and looked at him carefully. She was a very small, thin old woman of about 60 years. She had sharp, unkind eyes and a sharp little nose. Her hair was gray and oily. She did not wear a scarf on her head. Around her thin neck, which looked like a chicken leg, she had an old flannel rag. Even though it was hot, she wore an old yellow fur cape on her shoulders. It was old and looked bad. The old woman coughed and made groaning sounds all the time. The young man looked at her in a strange way. Because of that, mistrust came back into her eyes. "Raskolnikov, I am a student, he said quickly and made a small bow. I came here 1 month ago. I remember you, my good sir, the old woman answered clearly. I remember your visit very well. She continued to look at his face with questioning eyes. And now, I came again for the same reason, Raskolnikov said. He felt a little confused because the old woman did not trust him. Maybe she is always like this, he thought. I just did not notice it last time. The old woman waited for a moment, as if she was thinking. Then she moved to the side and pointed to the door of the room. Come in, my good sir, she said. The small room had yellow paper on the walls. There were geranium flowers and thin white curtains on the windows. At that moment, the setting sun made the room bright. So the sun will shine like this on that day, too. The thought suddenly came to Raskolnikov's mind. He looked around the room quickly. He tried to remember every detail, but there was nothing special in the room. The furniture was old and made of yellow wood. There was a sofa with a high curved back, an oval table in front of the sofa, a dressing table with a mirror between the windows, chairs along the walls, and 2 or 3 cheap pictures in yellow frames. The pictures showed German girls holding birds. In the corner, a small lamp burned in front of a little icon. Everything was very clean. The floor and the furniture shone. Lizaveta does the cleaning, the young man thought. There was not one speck of dust anywhere. Only in the houses of mean old women you find such cleanliness, he thought again. He looked quickly at the cotton curtain over the door that led to another small room. That room had the old woman's bed and chest of drawers. He had never been inside it before. These 2 rooms were the whole flat. What do you want? The old woman asked in a strict voice. She came into the room and stood in front of him again so she could look straight into his face. I brought something to pawn, said the young man. He took an old flat silver watch from his pocket. On the back there was a picture of the world. The chain was made of steel. But the time for your last thing is finished. The month ended 2 days ago. I will bring the interest for 1 more month. Please wait a little. But it is my decision, my good sir, to wait or to sell your thing immediately. How much will you give me for the watch, Alyona Ivanovna? You always bring such small things, my good sir. It is almost worth nothing. Last time I gave you 2 rubles for your ring. You can buy a new one in a shop for 1.5 rubles. Give me 4 rubles for it. I will take it back later. It belonged to my father. I will soon get some money. 1.5 rubles, and the interest in advance, if you want. 1.5 rubles, cried the young man. Do as you like, said the old woman, and gave the watch back to him.
Подпишись, пожалуйста, или хотя бы поставь лайк. 1 лайк не меняет мир, но меняет путь того, кто делится смыслом.